And we'll be marching pretty much starting on the east side and marching into downtown. And so today we're going to focus on issues of education. We're going to focus on issues of labor and workers' rights. And we're going to focus on immigration. And we have speakers here that are going to give statements regarding the condition and, again, the state of the city and the community's experience of it. So our first speaker will be Dolores Valles, who's going to focus on education, and her children accompanied her, and they're here, Maya and Angelina. Dolores?
Hi everybody, thank you for coming out. My name is Dolores Valles. I'm a parent volunteer at Bonham Academy with my daughter, who's a third grader. She's taking the STIR test for the first time this year, and my son, who's a student at BRAC.
Within the education system, not only from issues of bullying, but issues of teen dating violence, and violence is going on the campus, and it is a concern of ours and at the International Women's Day Committee, and it's one of the very issues that we bring up and raise as a concern for us during our march and our gatherings. Next to speak is going to be Maria Salazar, who's going to address issues of immigration and our community's experience of immigration issues at the local level.
That in 2010, he stood before a crowd of individuals at the International Women's Day March and proclaimed that San Antonio was not Arizona. In 2010, Governor Brewer signed 2 bills that pretty much conveyed a message to Latinos and immigrants that they were other and would not be integrated into our society unless they could provide a cheap labor pool. I can tell you that immigration is something that needs to be addressed here at the city, and we need to hold the neighbor accountable. As a lawyer who represents indigent people here in our county and our city, I can tell you that we have dreamers here that need assistance and guidance to get themselves to a point of getting documented status. I can think of 3 individuals right now that I have represented in these courthouses across the way here, where they were brought to this country at very young ages and grew up here, and these are students at South San, Harlandale. Failure to ID. Had they obtained such a charge, their ability to process and apply for legal status would have been jeopardized. So I remind the mayor that we need to do more for our young dreamers and our young immigrants who have been in our city, in this region, for generations. What can we do? Well, we need to look at what is the city doing to cooperate with ICE. We need to look at what is the policy when an individual is arrested and their status can't be determined. We don't want to be like the city of Arizona, like Tucson, Arizona, where law enforcement and immigration officials can walk into a community and take individuals out and process them without any kind of representation. And I'm speaking specifically of what happened last Saturday on February 16th, when law enforcement and immigration officials walked into a community and arrested an individual who could not produce their identity because they didn't have their seatbelts on, and an activist who was here legally under the DREAM Act status was also arrested and taken into custody. Now, some people say this is Arizona, but I remind the mayor that San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the country, and if you ask me, San Antonio represents the future of this country. It is black, it is brown, and it is beautiful. And if we're going to be a city that provides leadership, we need to address immigration comprehensively and look at how it affects our youth and our future. And we think about it being far away, but I can tell you that as an attorney and someone who challenges gender and who challenges what a professional looks like. About 2 years ago, I started carrying this around, my passport. Because if I go to Seguin, or if I go to Bernie, or if I go to Atascosa County, my status is going to be challenged because I am a lesbian, I am Latina, I speak English without an accent, and I challenge all the barriers, all the preconceived notions of what a woman, or what a queer, or what a Latino, or whatever. And if we're going to be looking towards the future of our city, we need to be comprehensive. And that includes looking at immigration status, looking at what our rights are, family in New Mexico and California. And I can tell you that we have to be careful when we put it out. We want to be like Silicon Valley. Why? Because Silicon Valley went bankrupt. Think about that. Silicon Valley went bankrupt. People were able to get good jobs, but let's think about what kinds of jobs are we trying to attract to this city. There are two kinds of positions that you can get in the area of technology. One is management, designing, thinking, finance. Very nice office jobs. The other is manufacturing. We're talking manufacturing of silicon chips, wiring, motherboards for our computers. And I can tell you from my family who worked in those industries, we're working in very toxic environments. And so what are we telling our citizens? We want them to be the next Silicon Valley. We want them to be technological workforce working for the cheap, with no guarantee that these companies are going to leave the region for the next cheap labor pool. We need to challenge that notion. The other thing we need to think about is silicon production. That technology needs lots of water. Lots of water. And we already live in an area where our aquifer is very, very much challenged. And we're already putting it in a very vulnerable position. So we need to think about what that kind of focus is going to do our environment. Because if we blow the land, then we're really shooting ourselves in the foot. So while I appreciate the mayor's focus on education, creating good job opportunities for all families, and creating a sense of positive future, we need to be comprehensive about that and make sure that we're treated with dignity and respect. And with that, I ask you to boycott Arizona. Thank you.
Workers in Action here in San Antonio. That is Local 10 of the Southwest Workers Union. You don't hear that much around here in San Antonio. The union represents school workers, custodians, cafeteria workers, and bus drivers. While as domestic workers, we represent nannies, house cleaners, and those that care for the elderly and disabled with dignity in their homes. Our mayor has made our city business friendly in an effort to help our economy. Now, we would like our city to also be worker friendly. The workers are the ones that have built this city. Workers are not disposable. As we have seen that we need to protect the workers and their families. We ask that Mayor Julian Castro set his sights on making our beautiful San Antonio a worker-friendly city where workers are appreciated, properly compensated, where they are free to organize and negotiate, a city where the voice of the worker is heard for the betterment of our families and the economy. For if our families earn a living wage, they can then go out and purchase from these businesses. That's how they help the economy. So Mayor Castro and City Council representatives, make our city a worker-friendly city and adopt a city resolution to support our domestic worker Bill of Rights. We will be having a press conference Thursday, noon, right here, to go ahead and put that domestic worker Bill of Rights out for the people.
Iracema ya dijo todo, ya no tengo nada que decir. Nada más, lo único que voy a decirles es que la organización que yo formé junto con otras compañeras, lo que estamos haciendo es no solo esperar que el gobierno que las leyes, que las personas, que los congresistas de aquí de San Antonio hagan algo por las trabajadoras, que las apoye con estos talleres para que ellas se superen y valgan más. Gracias.
What we've been doing for the past several months. About 6 or 7 months ago, we started talking to a lot of workers on the Riverwalk, both from hotels and restaurants. And something that we heard from a lot of workers is that their tips are being stolen. And so we started a campaign called Mi Tía, which is the Tip Integrity Act. It's an ordinance that we would like to pass through City Council to protect those workers' tips. For example, at the Hyatt, the Grand Hyatt, and hotels in all departments where people would usually receive tips. So we have been talking to a lot of workers. About 2,000 workers have signed our Mi Tía pledge card, which says that they would support a law to protect the tips. We've also received a lot of signed pledges from community allies, many of whom are standing here today. And then we've also reached out to a lot of politicians, not only locally but statewide. And so we have a lot of support. We in December had a Riverwalk referendum where 3,760 people voted for Mi Tía. That is more than any current city council member received in the 2011 election. Workers' tips. And so yeah, I mean, I think it's important that they do it. It's important that the community knows about it. It's important for workers at both hotels and restaurants to support.
Please, you've already given the city $7 million this year just for animal care services, and none of this is being done. You need to
as well as a community that is mainly Spanish speaking, and a community that is mainly has one of the highest health effects affecting women and children in the rural part of the city. Mayor Julian Castro talked about a lot of about San Antonio being the economic development city, you know, the next one, the up and coming, and many times we don't look at the health effects. I said, down with sexism, boom, boom.